The sound of shadows. The cold wind howled through the skeletal remains of the abandoned complex, its metallic structure long since swallowed by the creeping grip of time. A once secret government research facility, it now sat forgotten in the middle of nowhere, buried deep beneath a forest that had grown dense and wild in the 6 decades since anyone had last set foot inside. The facility's existence had been nothing more than a rumor, until recently. When the tapes had been discovered by a local construction crew clearing out a derelict building near the facility's grounds, it had been sheer luck. Hidden in a rusted metal box, covered in cryptic symbols and dated 1962, the tapes had caught the eye of the town's only historian, Jim. He didn't know much about reel-to-reel technology, but the markings on the box intrigued him, so he reached out to an old acquaintance, a sound engineer by the name of Marcus. Now, Marcus found himself standing before the yawning entrance of the underground complex, peering into the pitch-black abyss that awaited him below. His flashlight flickered as he switched it on, casting long shadows against the walls as he descended the creaking metal staircase. The air was thick with dust, the scent of decay lingering from years of neglect. It was colder than he'd expected, a biting chill that seemed to cling to his skin the deeper he ventured. Jim had given him more information than he'd expected. The facility had been part of a Cold War-era project, something hush-hush, the kind of thing that wasn't in any history book. No official records, no project name. Just whispers of experiments involving sound frequencies, perhaps for mind control, or maybe communication with something beyond Earth. As Marcus reached the bottom of the stairs, his flashlight illuminated the wide expanse of a control room frozen in time. Old computers lined the walls, their screens black and covered in a fine layer of grime. A large reel-to-reel player sat in the center of the room, exactly like the ones described on the tapes found above ground. He approached it cautiously, his footsteps echoing through the empty space. The machine's surface was cold to the touch, despite the room's stale air. The tapes. They had arrived in the box, each one marked with strange symbols that Jim had tried to decipher but failed. Marcus didn't know what to make of them either, but his job wasn't to figure out the markings. His task was to listen, to hear whatever had been recorded so long ago and forgotten. He slid the first tape from the box and placed it onto the machine, threading it carefully. There was a click, then the quiet hum of the reels turning. At first, there was nothing but static. Dark, hissing lo-fi static that seemed to pulse rhythmically, as if mimicking a heartbeat. Marcus adjusted the volume slightly, leaning closer to hear through the hiss. Then, the first sound emerged, a low, mechanical hum, rising and falling like the breath of some ancient machine. It was unsettling. The sound filled the room, vibrating through the walls, making the hair on the back of his neck stand on end. The hum grew louder, layered with faint whispers, distorted, unintelligible. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once, slipping beneath the static like shadows, never quite clear enough to understand. Marcus felt a chill crawl up his spine. It wasn't just the cold air. There was something about the sound, something buried deep in the frequencies that unsettled him in a way he couldn't explain. He closed his eyes, trying to focus. Maybe there was a hidden message in the tape, something encrypted in the sounds. The hum intensified. The whispers grew more frantic, overlapping one another. The mechanical resonance now clashed with an eerie melody, soft, almost soothing, if not for the darkness that clung to it. It was music, but not the kind you'd hear on any normal station. This was something else. Dark ambient, Marcus thought. It was like the music had been designed to evoke fear, to disorient whoever listened. Suddenly, the lights flickered overhead. Marcus snapped his eyes open, heart pounding. The room was dim, shadows swaying along the walls, as if the very air had begun to move with the sound. He paused the tape for a moment, staring at the machine as if it might spring to life. Just the power, he muttered to himself, though his voice seemed small in the cavernous room. He pressed play again, the reels spinning once more. This time, the whispers were clearer, like voices from far away calling through the static. And then, unmistakable words broke through the noise. "You're not alone." Marcus froze. He leaned closer, replaying the last few seconds. The voices, distorted as they were, echoed in the room. "We're here, watching." His heart raced. The cold seemed to deepen, the chill cutting through his jacket and seeping into his bones. He checked the time on his phone. 15 minutes in, and already the tape was making him question whether he was really hearing things, or if his mind was playing tricks on him. Just as he reached to stop the tape, the static shifted. The hum became deeper, the whispers more frantic, and the melody sharper. Marcus felt his skin crawl. The sounds became overwhelming, dark, mechanical, and oppressive. He stood abruptly, stepping away from the machine. The air around him felt charged, as if the sound itself was reshaping the atmosphere, growing more intense with each passing second. Then, without warning, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into darkness. For a moment, the only thing Marcus could hear was the tape, the eerie music, the haunting whispers, the low mechanical hum, filling the silence like a presence. But as the lights snapped back on, he wasn't alone. Standing at the far end of the room, barely visible through the dim glow, was a figure, a shadow, tall and featureless, but undeniably there. Marcus's breath caught in his throat, his pulse racing in his ears. The figure didn't move. It stood, watching him. And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the lights flickered once more, and the shadow was gone. He stumbled back toward the reel-to-reel machine, quickly stopping the tape. Silence fell, and the room was still again. Marcus knew then that this was no ordinary recording. Whatever the government had been experimenting with here in the 1960s had left something behind, something more than just sound. The tapes weren't just recordings, they were doorways, echoes of something that had been waiting in the dark for decades. Shaken, Marcus grabbed the tapes and hurried out of the complex, his footsteps quick and uneven as he climbed the stairs to the surface. Behind him, the air seemed to pulse with the memory of those sounds, those voices that whispered from beyond. He wasn't sure what he had uncovered, but one thing was certain. The lost tapes were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. This was only the beginning.